Hey y'all, welcome back. It's a beautiful day here in the center of Japan. Kids are back in school, summer vacation's over for them. My wife is at home enjoying a little downtime. I figured I'd come out and get in a quick run in the mountains back here. But before I do that, there's something I want to talk about. It has to do with kids going back to school and their parents who can't handle it. All right, well, maybe it's a little harsh to say some parents can't handle it, so let me break it down. So we're into August, and if you're on social media at all, you've seen posts from parents with children going off to college, right? And whether it's their first child or another child or, wow, their last child, their baby going off to college, you know, parents are really excited. They're very proud of their children, and it's really amazing to see our children grow up and spread their wings and take off on their own. Mixed in with that excitement, that pride, is, of course, some sadness that our kids are leaving us. I also see something else that I haven't yet begun to relate to, and that's the anguish, the utter despair that some parents seem to be harboring with the idea of their children leaving and going off to college. I just never understood that because, for me, when my last child goes off to college, I'm out the door too. I'm gonna have my backpack on my back, my passport in my pocket. I'm going off to see the world, to resume seeing the world like I used to before the kids came along and took over my life. But now my oldest is getting ready to go to college. He'll be heading off next spring. The school year starts in April here in Japan. And I'm starting to feel something for sure. But it's different from what I see out there from other parents, or at least what I garner from what other parents are posting. I'll get to that in a second. If you're not up to speed, this is Having Died Once. This is a video series about the things that I've gone through, or more importantly, the things that have gone through my head in the last 2.5 years since I went down with a heart attack and almost died. I see the world a lot differently now. I think about things a lot differently now. And a lot of those things have to do with my children. Now, thinking about my kids going off to college one by one and how I'm going to see that and how I'm going to feel about that, the catalyst for all of that, and it took a while for me to start realizing this, but the catalyst for all of that was actually the day I was able to go home from the hospital after getting a stent put in my heart. On the morning I was going to go home, I called home and my middle child answered. He doesn't ever have much to say anyway, but he was particularly quiet during this conversation. But I think that was mostly because after a few words, you know, I said, hello, hey, I'm coming home. I can't wait to see you. And I just started sobbing. I was bawling on the phone. I'm not sure what a 12-year-old should say in that situation, you know, listening to his dad that he almost lost. But I just lost it. Now, my wife picked me up, and on our way home, we went by my daughter's elementary school. She was in elementary school at the time. This was a Saturday, but she would go to this after-school program, which was open on Saturdays, just because she liked to hang out and play with her friends. And I guess the facilities at her school associated with this program were attractive enough that made her want to be there instead of at home. Sometimes she said she would study, but I'm not sure she ever did. Regardless, we swung by her school and asked the teacher to let her know that we were there to pick her up. And when she came down and came out from the hallway, I saw her and started tearing up and started crying a little bit quietly. She came over, I gave her a big hug. Strangest feeling I've ever had. And then we went home. And once we got home, my oldest was at home. And he's always been very expressive, very open. When I saw him, he had a big smile on his face. He did have a look of concern, like some sort of residual fear or uncertainty from the past few days. But he greeted me with a big smile and, "Hey, Dad, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so happy you're all right. I love you. So good to have you home again." All the things that I really needed to hear and really appreciated hearing from him. And I felt all right. Now, at the time, and for a while, I thought that was just a natural progression of me getting out everything that was inside me. I mean, I pretty much died out on the sidewalk at night in a blizzard, and a few strangers came along and brought me back to life. I don't remember any of it, of course, but it took a while, and it is still taking a long time to process things. So at the time, I thought it was just a matter of me getting out what I had inside me, all that shock and the fear of having almost lost everything. You know, I cried my eyes out over the phone, then I cried a little when I saw my daughter, and then at home I saw my oldest son. I felt okay. But in time, that perception and my ideas of how I was reacting with each of my children has changed. And the idea of them leaving home has kind of played a part in the evolution or the development or the change in how I see my relationships with my children. My oldest son, he has, like I said, he has always been very expressive. He has never had a problem saying how he feels, and just real bright kid, always saying, "Hey, good morning, how are you? Good night, I'll see you later, I'll see you soon, good to see you again, I love you." He would say, "I love you" more than I would. And that kind of strikes me because I'm not sure where he learned it from, to be honest, because I haven't been that type of father for him or for any of my kids. Yeah, I try to show my love for my kids, but I don't put it into words very often. And actually, that night when I left the house and I had my heart attack on the way to the train station, I don't even remember if I said, "I love you" to my kids. I don't remember if I did. And that bothers me because, one, I often didn't. And that could have been their last memory of their father. Him walking out the door and just saying, "Okay, guys, see you later, see you tomorrow. Do your homework," something like that, right? That could have been their last memory of me. But more than that, I don't really, I know that I haven't said "I love you" and I haven't expressed clearly, verbally, my love for my children enough. So if I had not made it, they would have been left with memories of a father who didn't say "I love you" all that much. Now, my oldest son, he's so emotionally stable, very level-headed. He's got a great emotional mentality. And I don't worry about him going off to college and going off into the world. I know he's going to do really well. But closer to home, I know that I've done okay with him as a father, or at least, despite me, he's turned out all right. With my daughter, you know, any father out there can relate to having a special relationship with your daughter. That daddy-daughter thing is unique. It's real cute. When my daughter was younger, we'd have just so much fun so often, just laughing and being silly with each other. But I also had no problem expressing to her at times my love for her. You know, I often said to her, "You know, there are so many little girls in the world, but you know what? Out of all those girls in the world, you're my favorite. What do you think of that?" And she, with just a real deadpan look, she'd be like, just give me a thumbs up, and that was it. But we had a good relationship throughout her younger years. Now she's 13, she could be a challenge for sure. But we still have a lot of good times and a lot of genuinely kind daddy-daughter moments. It's my middle child that has always been a challenge. He has very seldom been expressive. And when he was about 10, he turned into a teenager. And for several years, it was tough to get anything out of him. It's tough to get out a good morning out of him or a good night. Ask him how his day was and how school was, and could barely get anything from him more than a grunt or a one-word answer that kind of showed me or made me think that he didn't want to talk and he didn't want to have anything to do with any sort of conversation about anything. And over time, that affected me. I would say goodnight and he wouldn't say goodnight. I would say good morning, he wouldn't say good morning. On those occasions that did say, hey, bud, I love you, I give him a hug. He'd just let his arms hang at his sides and he wouldn't say anything. And I guess eventually I decided, well, I'm not going to say anything either. So I stopped. And I think that is why I had that emotional breakdown with him over the phone. So having almost lost everything and then seeing my kids again and how I reacted when I saw each of them, and then spending the last 2.5 years trying to deal with everything in my head, and to now my first son going off to college and thinking about my children one by one leaving, I still don't have that feeling of something being ripped out of my heart. I don't feel like I'm going to have that hole in my life that some parents who post about their children leaving seem to be suffering from. What I fear is that when my kids go off on their own one by one, they will be going off with a hole in their life or a hole in their heart where their father should have been or could have been more. And this is not to beat myself up at all. I mean, all as parents, we do our best, and we know we've failed at times. We've had successes as well. But I don't think anyone out there, any parent out there, thinks that they've got it all under control and they got it all figured out. In Japan, they say parents don't raise the kids, kids raise the parents. And I think there is a lot of truth to that. So that's how I've come to see my kids going off to college. Not something being torn from me or not something that's going to leave a hole in my life, but I worry that the father I've been is going to leave them with a hole in theirs. And again, I'm not here to beat myself up. Just talking things through makes me realize, how I've been as a father. And if anything comes of this video, if anything comes out on the other side of this, if there's somebody who listens to this and kind of can relate and say, you know what, yeah, you're right. You know what, I understand, I can relate to that. And if you get something out of that, well, I guess that's a bonus for me and for you. So moving forward, my kids are all at school, summer vacation's over. I'm going to head up into the mountains for a run, a little spiritual rejuvenation. But later on, my kids, one by one, they'll come home. And it's a process. I'll continue to try to be that father that I always thought I'd be, And it's not something that I don't think any of us can turn on. It takes time, it takes discipline, it takes effort. And I see it, I feel it, and I recognize that sometimes I know that I should be saying and doing certain things and I just don't feel like it. And it's pretty shitty, I guess, but my feeling as a human being. Growing up in New Jersey, not far from New York City, every Friday, Saturday night, I'd listen to a couple radio stations. I was into rap music growing up, so I'd listen to a couple of the rap stations and a couple of the DJs that would spin their vinyl. DJ Red Alert, DJ Marley Marl. If any of you guys recognize these names, shout out to you. But one of these DJs at the end of every show would say, just remember, any fool can learn from his own mistakes. It takes a wise guy like you, to learn from the mistakes of others. So, if anyone gets anything out of the mistakes of this fool here, more power to you, and I'm happy to hear it. For now, when you go home, maybe you're much better than I am at this. Make sure you tell your kids you love them, so you send them off with a full heart someday. Have a great day, y'all. Talk to you again soon.